Hey, what's up? It's your boy Stephen McCoy, and you are listening to Sessions with Stephen. And today we have one of the queens of the Motherland, Salem Fort, that is.
Oh, thank you.
Jessica Sutton. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing now that I get to hang with one of the witches today.
Well, we're honored to be hanging with you. Promoting our show, season 2.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, isn't that amazing? How was that when you found out that you got the call for season 2?
Mind you, we were in a pandemic, very much in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was back home in South Africa thinking, I don't know if I'm going to have a job.
Yeah.
The whole world closed down. So it was a dark time. But I think what really gave my days shape was focusing on season 1, and somehow the girls managed to, virtually, we were just able to still promote the show in the way that we wanted, which was together. Amalia and I wrangled time zones. It didn't matter. We were, 3 a.m. our time every Thursday. We would meet on Twitter and
love that.
And celebrate with the fans as each episode came out. And that was the most rewarding part. If I'm thinking back to last year, it was just seeing the response to the work that we had done, and that the heartbeat of our show resonated as we hoped it would, as it did with us, that we put everything into it. And so, when we got the call, it was like a lifeline.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I have been able to work. So many people have lost their jobs and their whole livelihoods. So I have nothing but gratitude. And in that moment, we all called each other, screaming, playing Stevie Nicks. Her Edge of 17 is our theme song. And I think Demetria popped some bubbles, and we just screamed and happy danced, and we just knew that we were going to see each other really soon to have another chapter and for these characters to live on.
It truly built a sisterhood for you for all of you ladies. How was from meeting from the very beginning, did you all just click instantly?
Yeah.
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 Group chat.
I remember meeting. So I remember being at the gym, the stunt gym, where we fitness train and learn our choreography, and Taylor and Ash and I were there. It was just us, and we were just about to head into practice. And I think there was just a moment between Tay and I where we looked at each other, and then we licked Ashley's face. It was just, we don't know how that is. We have a really immediately like an intimate connection, because we knew that these characters, it had to feel that way as well, that there was just this intimacy. Yeah. And we're not afraid of like getting up in each other's faces, and we're different from our characters. So to establish that, camaraderie and trust, and it helps to have a silliness as well. Humor is just, it's probably the one most underrated characteristic. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. Sometimes the work is really, really serious, and all 3 of us take our purpose as actors in telling a great story seriously. But we're all just goofballs. And Tay and Ash help me.
Like every now and then we get a group of females like that. Like we had Charmed, and we had a Charlie's Angels, and now we have 2 ladies. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
So I love that. And it inspires women to, even with this show alone, there's 8 out of 10 female directors, and there's so much diversity in the cast. And there's a little reunion that we get to see in season 2. I would just want to know, your character specifically,
yeah,
how do we see your character evolve from the first season, moving on to this season?
I would say, I mean, the first thing I ever read about Tally Craven was that she was described as a living exclamation mark. So I said, okay, that's my North Star. Like that's really the pillar of the Tally tent. You know,
Yeah.
she is just filled with empathy and love for life and people, and her passion for service and to be a part of something greater. So that living exclamation really lived in me. I thought it was quite a strange coincidence that we should have something in common. And that was even prior to reading or auditioning for the pilot. And it must have worked because the book did the job. And I just continued to bring that innocence and that joy of life. It just felt like the right color, if I can say it. It's more than a mood. Tally's more than a mood. She's like a color, and she's a vibrancy and a frequency. She's kind of like at a certain energy level all the time. And in season 1, we see a lot of lessons learned.
Yeah.
You know, I think she goes in assuming innocently, not arrogantly, but really it's coming from a good place of innocence, that she has the answers, that the world is, she knows what's happening, she knows what war's about, and then it's just not that. And she learns how love hurts, and there's such a, that was her kind of her personal growth. And it takes us into season 2. And season 2, her journey goes from really seeing that exclamation. So we see Talia in season 1 going from this living exclamation mark, learning lessons, learning that things aren't what she thought, that love hurts, that the world's a far meaner place, and that war is war. And I think, she gets her innocence eroded. And in that erosion, we kind of pick up straight into season 2 with her making this ultimate sacrifice that just flings her whole life in a different direction without her unit being a biddy for older. And the way I see it now is that exclamation marks become a question mark. And she's now having to live the question rather than try reach so much for answers. She's just living in that curiosity.
Definitely.
Because she knows that there's a lot more to know. And that probably that there always is.
How do you feel this show is going to change the world? Because I always say that for every show, there's a why. There's a why now. Why is this show on air? Why, how is this going to contribute to the world? Now, I can give you my opinion, which is, I do feel it is somewhat pushing women forward, because there's like this army, this military of women that are fighting. We don't see that all the time. So that is definitely one aspect for me.
I totally agree. What stood out for me when I first read the scripts was this new vision that Elliot had painted. And he is, having now known him for 3 years, he loves flipping the tables, challenging the status quo. I mean, I distinctly remember him in the pilot kind of idling up to me in one of the takes, and we were chatting about, this new show that we were going to present to the world. And he kind of said to me, he was like, I think we might piss some people off. And then he paused, and then he was like, yeah, oh well. And I think as an artist, you got to be gutsy enough to say what you want to say, see what you want to see, put out there. It's a lot of risk, right? You don't know how the world's going to respond. And that's the interesting part, is what the response will be. You kind of, you make the work, and then you sit back, and the product becomes what it becomes in the hands of the world. So for me, season 2 in particular, I mean, this whole show changed my life in so many ways. And I can't really separate that from what it would mean to the world, because it's changed my world. Right.
Yeah, understand.
Coming from South Africa.
Yeah.
Totally different reality. And I'm so grateful because I'm able to immigrate now because of it. And I have met these incredible women co-stars who are as formidable as their characters, who I get to call, I'm lucky to call my friends. And they've expanded my world, you know, in so many ways, just for having met them and worked with them as artists, but also as people. And if I think about season 2 in particular, I really needed, halfway through last year, I'm not a person who generally slips into despair, but I was in a really despairing place. And I hope that season 2 can be hope.
Yeah,
it's definitely a darker season, and I think it rightfully, you know, aligns with this world that we're kind of living in. It's like fantasy and reality are kind of blurring right now. But I really do think the heartbeat for our show has always been coming into one's power and what that means to you.
Love that.
And how that can awaken you into your leadership in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, these characters are witches, and we're talking about real, you know, flying supernatural power, but we're also talking about the power of sisterhood and coming into one's own and living by your values. What are your values? What do you stand for? What would you die for?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thanks, Stephen.
Coming on to the show. Guys, this is an amazing show. Keep watching and keep supporting my girl, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Hey, subscribe now.